Right, so we're going to talk a little bit about communities and the human connection in these times, in the verge of AI. But before, probably a little bit of historical context, I guess, about what technology has been for humanity. And I don't think we could dissociate between technology and humans. I think we are all part of a big blueprint. AI, the latest thing that we invented, is also one thing that is really impactful in our lives and what transformative for us as humans. So it impacts a lot of things, but we're going to focus on like one thing, which is what does it mean for us as a community and what does it mean for humanity in general. So with me, I have Flor to help me, and Pedro to help me drive this. I'm going to try and do my best to not be boring and hopefully drive a conversation that everyone can leave this conference and go have a beer and talk a little bit more about this. So presenting my guests, Flor. Flor is a community and ecosystem builder and entrepreneur, focused on the future of work, innovation, and regional development. She's the founder of Flourish Mode, right? And Love Community, and collaborates with multiple organizations and startup ecosystems on projects that combine remote work and community. And Pedro, on my left, is the president of Faro em Ação. It's a local non-profit youth association, and is a software engineer, but he runs his own company and he loves building things for the community. So thank you both for being here. Right, so I guess I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
So the first topic I have is building for communities and what the work reveals. Tell me, in your what you did, your works, did you what was the main challenges with this AI event, and do you use it? Do you plan to use it? What was the impact in general?
Okay, so just a little bit of context for everyone. Loft Community is a community we started back in 2023 here in Delgar. And the main objective of the community was to actually gather people who were working mostly remotely from home in person, right? So let's say like there's not much AI can do in terms of being in person. We're just going to connect with each other. And back then in 2023, I would say like AI was not a hot topic as it is right now, or not unless, for me, I always work in tech environments, but I'm not a techie or geek, so I was not very much aware of AI at that moment. So no, it's not, AI was not something that we brought into Loft, but from a marketing and communications perspective, since the very first beginning, when people were like signing up to join Loft, I was asking like, how did you heard about the community? And at the beginning was mainly through Instagram, Facebook, this or that. Then was through word of mouth, friends, someone that I know that is part of the community. And it's very interesting to start to see that some people get to know Loft through LLMs. You know, like maybe they're here in Delgar and they're looking for a connection, and when they start to say, how did you hear about us? Was through ChatGPT or through Gemini, and say, wow, that's so cool, right? So it's like, that was always one of my main pain points, saying like, hey, like I want people who are here to know that they're not alone, that they can find, and there's like a lot of us just hidden in our house behind the computer. And it's very nice to see that AI is helping in that sense for them to find us.
Yeah, that was good. So yeah, it kind of helped you like amplifying the message and what you guys doing. Yeah, so that's good. Thank you for the brief, Pedro. Yeah, same question. What AI did, or do you use it? When do you use it in your projects, or what was the impact?
Yeah, so thank you for having me here. That actually happened to us too, where we had someone that found us using ChatGPT, and it really took us by surprise too. And we especially got really flattered when we asked, like, okay, but exactly what did you ask ChatGPT, and for it to have recommended us for those specific topics. So for those that don't know, Faro em Ação is a local non-profit. We are based in Faro. Yeah. We are a youth association, but anyone is welcome. Usually just because of the way that funding works, many of the things we have are only funded for youth, so the government uses definition up until 30. I'll take the chance to do a shout out. We have some things coming up. If you are under 30, for instance, next weekend, if you want to go to Gerês, come with us. Everything is paid. We have one slot available. Come talk to us after this. We have many other similar initiatives. You can sign up on our website. We also do Erasmus, where we just go a week abroad and get to meet new cultures. And we also do some tech stuff. Recently we did Faro Resolve. We as a community made an app. We are not necessarily a tech community, and everyone was able to contribute, even those that aren't in tech. And Faro Resolve basically tries to bring the citizens and the local government together a bit more by enhancing communication both ways. So you can report problems, so the local government can give you information on all of that. We are purely ran by our community, and our community has a really important role in all of this. And AI allows each person that thankfully decides to dedicate some of their time to us to be a bit more enhanced. So for instance, in Faro Resolve, in that app, we have to validate problems as they come up and moderate and all of that. And we have an AI component to that, where it gives advisory on whether a problem should be accepted, where it shouldn't, if something is suspicious, if it's not. And it decides, it doesn't make decisions, but it decides, quote unquote, the human that will make the final decision, whether it's just a regular volunteer or if it has to be a manager, quote unquote. And aside from that, we use it on the usual workflows, like for sometimes for trying to write grants and all of that. Just the ways many of you are used to it. But we do it with some caveats that I think we'll get into later, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah, that's good, and it's a good segue. So thank you for explaining a little bit about the project. Super interesting. For you guys who didn't realize, the trip to Gerês is for people under 33. Okay, 30. So I'm excluded.
You can still come, we just can't fund it for you.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. I think, yeah, so this is a nice segue into the next topic, which is more about around the individual versus the common good, in a sense that we are all empowered now to build something and to fix our own problems with AI, so we tame the complexity somehow with these tools. But there is a gap, I guess, between we solve our own problems, but there are problems that the community also have that needs to be solved. An example, I don't know, like I solve I built something to track my expenses, and I also built something to track what happens in Assembleia Municipal, and gives me the topics about the conversations and all that stuff. So the second one is good for the community, but I build it for myself. So how, I'm going to pass this to Flor. How do you think we can capture these initiatives and kind of filter them and say, look, that was a good problem that you solved for yourself, and you can apply it to the community? How can we give visibility to this?
So I do believe like no problem is an individual problem. Like a problem that I have, I'm sure that someone had it in the past, someone is having it right now, and someone will have it in the future. And I think like that's how many great things become something bigger, right? So for example, putting as an example, love communities, like I arrived here, I didn't know anyone, I was looking for things going on around, and I realized it was not just my problem, but it was the problem of many other people. And I started to host these events, and we gather and we meet, etc. Many startups start from personal and individual problems, right? Like, and even like, I'm sure that GeekSessions started also like that, right? Like people wanted to connect with other people regarding like tech and things like that. Your personal tracker, maybe something that you can put up there for the community and will be useful for everyone else, because we all have also that problem. So I do believe like maybe we have been born and raised in a very individualistic narrative of like just focus on your stuff, like don't be like so asking so many questions to other people. Like I don't know, sometimes maybe some people take that as rude or something like that. I take that as curiosity. When I meet someone, I just ask things because I want to connect with them. And I think like many of the problems that we can solve, I'm sure there are more collective problems than individual problems. And for example, to your side, like what you are doing with Faro Acción and that, like it's like something how collectively we can create more solutions to the problems that we all have, like as a society. And I think like the narrative is kind of going into that side. I see it very big, maybe because I'm very much into the community world, but I do see this a lot, like people coming together and thinking like, how can we collectively solve these problems that we think they are individual, but they're not.
Yeah, it makes sense. I guess the thing is, in society right now, the mainstream thinking is to it's very directed to individualism, right? I mean, you rant on social media, but you rarely rant in person, right? So it's your own safe space, and building these solutions kind of falls into the same, the way I see it, into the same space, because you build those, and you build those for you, and somehow you need to bring those ideas into the community, and that's where like GeekSessions or other events out there that try to bring people out of their own rooms into public. I think those are probably that's the way, but I don't know if there's a better way to do that.
I don't know, like many times like people say like, no, I have like this idea, I want to do this, and maybe they feel like a little bit afraid of sharing that idea. And I always think like ideas are just ideas, and like when you put it out there, you can get like feedback from others, and maybe you even end up finding that you don't need to build that alone, and you validate that problem is a problem of many other people. and that you can even have like maybe a positive impact on other persons, you know, like because maybe it's like, I don't know, like I don't know how to build this or that, but if you build it and you put it out there for the rest of the people as well, it's like, oh, maybe I want also to be part of that, or maybe I want to also use that. So I do think that sharing is good.
Caring.
Like yeah, sharing is caring, you know. And I think like again like no problem or no solution. It's just for you. It can be for many other people, and it's a matter of like trying and also like having that that thing of like not being afraid to put it out there and that maybe nothing happened, or you know, like because maybe many times people are afraid to sharing their solutions or their problems because they are afraid of what they will have as a reply on the other side.
Yeah, makes sense.
So,
Yeah. What about you, Pedro? What do you think about?
So I think the best apps are the ones that are made by their users. And what I mean by that is that no, their users are not going to be literally writing lines of code, but those apps where the users' needs are met constantly, where you're constantly asking the users for feedback, asking them how they use your app, and tailoring your app to the people that use them. I think those are the best apps. And so I find it valuable for the primary user and maker of your app to be yourself. So if you're building something that you know you're going to use, and that you know you're going to use a lot, you're going to be its #1 fan, then you're going to build a great app. And that's how I build all the software I build, is if I need it, I don't waste time on market validations or any of that because I'm going to use it. And if anyone else is going to use it, even better. And guess what? We're all human. We all have some or even many similar aspirations. So if I find it useful, odds are many more people out there will also find it useful. And
Yeah.
that's sort of my position, yeah.
Yeah. Now, there's an interesting aspect, you know, to all this, and taking a step back on us being empowered of building things, and the aspiration sometimes is, okay, I build things, and I might make money with this, right? But the question is, if I can build this so fast and solve this problem, and can I make money for it? Others can do the same thing, right? And what does making money here means at all, if I'm making this clear? Yeah, I can build one thing, I can decide to monetize it. You can do the same thing, and you can decide to monetize it too. So, does it mean anything to make money out of this pieces of tech that we build?
Well, personally, I build tech for a passion, but personally, I also like to eat and have a roof over my head and all that. So you have to find a balance in it. There are some apps that are very dear to me that I will never sell. And what I mean by that is I want to keep the direction on it. I want to be the one to make the decisions. And for instance, that's a debate you have with public companies, where as soon as you go public, profit is the #1 motive, and you get restricted in some things. And sometimes you do have to make those hard decisions. Well, these are like your children, and you'll have to monetize some of them. Maybe you won't even like the way you monetize some of them. Maybe you'll outright sell an app, and it's no longer yours, and it's really hard to get detached from that. But at the end of the day, we all have our needs, and I would love to live in a world where everyone can just build what's dearest to them. Because truly, I think that's how the best apps come to life. And if you think of the apps as something that empowers you, empowers your community, and makes us as a humankind leap forwards, then we do need to build a society and have the tools where if someone wants to build something, and that's something, and it's something that will probably, even if only 1 out of 10 times were a lot, even if 1 of 10 people build something that elevates us, that brings us really far, there are millions of us. Then we'll have millions of good apps. So it's a numbers game. We have to get people out there building apps. Sure, money is going to be a concern. I'd like for the direction moving forward, and especially the talk of AI and all that, to have that be a secondary motive, and for us to be able to just focus on doing what we want.
Yeah, I believe so. Flor, what do you think about this?
So maybe here is like a whole different perspective in terms of like, I'm not a tech builder of building tools. Like my whole life I always had like ideas of like, oh, it would be so cool to do this or do that, blah, blah, blah. But as I didn't have the knowledge about like how to code something and do it, I felt like kind of limited. And now seeing like all these AI tools that allow you to just maybe prompt some things and see your ideas come to life digitally, is like, it's amazing. Like it's a world of possibilities, right? Like it's like, it's allowing people from different backgrounds to build stuff. What comes to mind to myself, and now from this communication and marketing background, is more of like, okay, like if we are becoming a world where we are all builders, we're all creators, what I do see is like it's overwhelming. There's so much content, there's so many things created. How do you kind of communicate and connect with the people who could be benefit of what you created? So I think that it's. I tend to say like we are going from a world of creators and builders to maybe a world of curators, and I believe like sometimes communities are becoming those curators of trust. You know, like there's so many people building things. Like how can we know if this tool is something I can trust and this is not? Like who is behind these things that we are building? And trust and communities and like the recommendations of the communities, I think those are becoming things that are very, very valuable for the future where we are heading on.
Yeah. So it also solves the problem of communities, solves the problem of visibility, right? If you gather those builders, that people that build things, probably for their own, and if you expose them in the community, maybe you have, yeah. So, I could use that, right? Cool. So, thank you. I'm gonna move. I'm conscious of time here. I'm probably gonna move to the other topic, which is very broad. And I was thinking, and probably most of us were thinking since the dawn of AI, what remains when machines do pretty much all the work that we are doing nowadays? So, are there opportunities for us to evolve as humans, for our communities to evolve, if we have machines doing our coding for us, or doing whatever paperwork needs to be done? What do you think?
So I think we can talk about this stuff like for hours.
Exactly, yeah.
But I do believe like there's one thing that we all try to look in life, that it's like about this work-life balance, right? Like we are constantly feeling like overwhelmed, you know, like I have so many things to do, I never finish with work, like I have to do this and this and that. And I like to see like technology and AI like this kind of companion that will allow us to be able to do our work more efficiently, to accomplish what we need to do, and to buy us time to do other stuff, you know, and not be like in this continuous thing of like, I'm so tired, and this and that. And, so that's how I like to see it. But it also will depend very much on who are the ones leading the
Yeah.
companies and the jobs and the works, right? Like what kind of leadership we have.
Even governments.
And governments as well, yeah. So I like to think like we can go into a new society where we can value more other stuff and that we can have a more responsible leadership in terms of like, let's use this not to maybe push people to, now that you have these tools, you need to be like even more productive. But it's like, how can you really get into that point of work-life balance?
Yeah, exactly.
Mental peace.
Yeah. Now that you have the whole, all this time you've been living for your work, right? Now that your work can be outsourced to a machine, you can eventually start thinking a little bit more of what it means to you to be human and what means, well, I guess grab what we lost in the way that got us there,
Yeah,
right? Where we are.
and to add something to that, like, so like I lived my whole life in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, and when I moved here and I started to go to networking events and to meet people, it was very interesting to see that the first conversation when you're meeting with someone and you are trying to introduce and to know each other, people always, the first thing that ask about or how they introduce themselves, it's around work. Like if work was like our personality, it's like, what do you do? Like, what do you do for a living? How do you money? What is your work? And it's like, imagine a world where we don't work anymore, right? Like, where like, work is not who you are. It's like, if you take that aside, can you still define who you are? Like, what do you know? Like, we are much more than work, right? Like we are our passions, our interests, our hobbies, our things, you know? So for me it was very shocking when I arrived here and everyone was just talking about like, and what do you do for a living? What is your job? And it's like, there's much more than just that.
Yeah.
And I think like we really need to start to understand who we are beyond work, because we're heading into a whole new future, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. I think we there's room for that, but I don't know if again the people in charge, governments or companies will have the willing to do that, or if they can detach from.
But that's the thing. Like before, still is, but before it's like everything was very much concentrated into like you need to work for a company. But now we're talking about like we are able to build our own stuff, and we see like there's more and more people that leave corporate world because they don't align with the leadership, and they start to do freelance, or they start their own startups, or they start their own things. So we have a whole new world of possibilities, and it's a matter of like seeing what happens, you know, like, and if people are sometimes brave enough to say like, okay, like I don't align with this kind of leadership anymore. I want to look at other companies who have like this direction of these values, etc. Or I can do my own stuff. You know?
Yeah, true. Pedro, what do you think? Do you think if AI or the machines do all the work, do you think we'll have more people collaborating with like your association? What do you think?
So it's actually a really dangerous concept because in an ideal world, yes, people would have more time to do what they want to and what really drives them. But it's something and somewhere we have to step towards carefully. And regarding AI replacing us, if there's one thing I'd like everyone to take home, that I like to give everyone to take home today, is do you think of friction and think that we've been spending maybe the last 20, 30, I've not been around that long, so I can't go back too much, but we spent a lot of years looking at our lives and trying to remove all sorts of friction from it. And yes, that's helped us along the way, but friction isn't always necessarily bad. And especially when we're talking about AI, sometimes do try to introduce some friction into your workflows to ensure you're not incorrectly replaced. So I'm not dumb. I do use AI, so it's a tool, and you can use it to get ahead. But at the same time, you have to be awfully aware of the effects that AI has on your brain, on the way you think, on the attention span you have, on the way you are able to carry out your day-to-day tasks. And you have to be aware that as soon as you start removing all kinds of friction, as soon as you start trying to live life and do your tasks on easy mode and just let AI take the wheel, then there might be a time where you can't take the wheel back. And I'm not saying something, and I'm not saying this from a society perspective, I'm saying this from how your brain is wired, from how maybe you get too used and too accustomed to those tools, and you start to trust too much. So what I like to do is indeed add friction. So I use friction as a tool. I ensure I do use the tools, but then I have ways to add to my workflows that force me to stay in control. For instance, the way we build and use our tools doesn't allow us to just click next, accept, accept, accept. That doesn't work. When we build tools that use AI, we also think when designing, the same way we design interfaces, when designing those tools, we think, okay, where are the steps where we're going to add friction and force the user to be the one in charge, to be the one making the decisions. For those of you that code, one tip I can add is, instead of letting an LLM directly into your code editor, just open ChatGPT or whatever you use on the side on a window, and you're on the other window. And if you want to add a new feature, make a change, what I usually do is I get all of the information it's going to need. I copy and paste it and say, do this. This forces me with friction to, one, be aware of where everything in my code is, so I can give it to the AI so it can have enough context to work with. To be aware of where the AI can make changes, because it doesn't have access to the whole code base. It's only going to make changes where I want it to. And three, I'm on the chat, it's not directly on my code. I'm going to have to copy it, at worst copy and paste it into my code. That's going to force me, at least while I'm dragging down to select, because I don't use the button to copy all. While I'm dragging down to select, I can maybe catch something that it's doing that it shouldn't be doing. And that lets me stay in control. That lets me be the one in charge, have the AI be a tool, not replace me, and not replace the way I think. Because I think that's the most important part. But we will eventually move into a society where we do less and less of the manual labor. That's been happening historically. The Industrial Revolution, it's not anything new. That happens every century. Now it happens even faster, multiple times per century. And we just have to change the way we think about things. Circling back to what Miguel Coque was saying previously, maybe in the future we won't build code, we will build a documentation, and that documentation describes how the application works. If you want to change something, just change the documentation. The same way before we used to program and more in depth. We're adding layers and layers of abstraction.
Moving to spec-driven development.
Maybe not.
Maybe. Yeah, good insights. I would love to discuss more about this, but I have to make room for one question only. Someone. So yeah, questions please, thank you, guys. Tá frio.
Really?
Yes.
I cannot win with you.
That's fine.
No,
we are almost finishing, so it's okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to root for the humans, so let me just put one comment. I don't use AI by choice, but I've been seeing it along since 2011. It was more or less when I started learning machine learning, but I don't use it. I believe there's a fallacy in the thinking that improving efficiency will lead us to more time. I don't think it will lead us to more time. I think history shows that, at least in the current society as we have, corporations and governments will do whatever it takes to occupy us with whatever way. And just as a context, for example, we are here in Algarve, and we are talking about apps and how AI enables people that code. We have a lot of digital nomads coming to Algarve. At the same time as we have South Asian and African immigrants, not all of them considered legal, to do the other stuff, the agriculture, that may have AI improvement somewhere in the management, but it requires people to actually do it. And I think it becomes a fallacy when we think that AI will by itself enable humans to have easier choice. I think the choice can be made anytime we want, 20 years ago, 200 years ago, now, to change life according to purpose. And I think that is what I would like just to comment. I don't know, it's not about efficiency, I think it's about purpose. Just a comment.
Yeah, for sure. I do think that there's something related to, and you were talking before, like work and money and all this. It's like, what are our values, right? Like, it's like, what is that we are really looking forward as a society? You know, like for many years, the most important thing was just doing money. We need money because it's how the world works. Like as you said, you want to have a roof and pay for food. But I do think, and I see like generation after generation after generation, like there's other motivations. Like my generation at least is like, it goes beyond the money, it goes also the purpose, you know? Like, would you rather work for any company doing things that you are not aligned with, or you prefer to also work for a company that is aligned with your values, the purpose behind that company? Do you rather want to work in a company that it doesn't align with the life that you want to have? Like I have so many friends that they decided to resign their jobs because they wanted to continue working remotely after pandemics. You know, so there's many things that change in terms of values, purpose.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt you here. Do you have a comment on the comment? Yes, so short one, please. we can discuss more about this on a beer and outside, but that's definitely a good topic.
So this relates truly to two of the main topics we had, money and AI replacing us. And we can see this emerging LLM and everything AI revolution being a way of massification, like we've seen previously in history with the printing press, with mass production, with the steam engine. There is one key difference here, though, that gives, on one hand, gives me hope, but on the other hand, gives us all uncertainty, is that previously, not everyone could buy a printing press. Not everyone could get a steam engine and start rolling out a clothes factory. But today, anyone can work with an AI. And on one hand, we have no idea, like historically, we have no terms of comparison on how that will fan out. But on the other hand, it can give me hope in that while previously one clothes factory could replace an entire town's worth of tailors, well, now it's almost like those tailors could also make their own factories. So the fight isn't as uneven as has been in the past, and maybe there's still hope for the little guy.
Thank you. So with that, I think we're going to close this panel, and there's some wrapping up, I think, with the Geek Sessions.
Thank you, Ricardo.
Thank you both. Thank you for